Happening now on Grid Tonight, there's been major changes in NASCAR leadership. What's on Steve O'Donnell's agenda as he takes over as CEO? Kyle Busch has a new crew chief this weekend at Texas. Is Andy Street the right person to turn around the number 8 Chevrolet season? And starting next year, IndyCar plans to prevent non-chartered teams from competing in races not named the Indianapolis 500. Will this move help or harm the sport? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lammett. With me tonight are Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. Throughout the show, leave your comments and questions in the chat for us to display, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. And we also have a hello here from Jamie again in Lake Norman. Nice to see you again, Jamie. Hope you enjoyed tonight's program. And with that said, Josh, take it away with our top story this evening. We actually have a lot to talk about tonight.
We do have a lot to talk about, which is great news for us. Good evening, Kobe. Good evening, Matt. Good evening, everybody. So let's get straight into it. Last Saturday at Talladega Super Speedway, NASCAR officially confirmed a major shakeup with its senior leadership team. NASCAR Chairman Jim France stepped down from his role as Chief Executive Officer, so NASCAR President Steve O'Donnell was promoted to the new CEO. Now, in addition, Ben Kennedy got promoted to the Chief Operating Officer. Now, O'Donnell becoming NASCAR CEO is significant because he's NASCAR's first top executive leading the sport outside of the France family for the first time in the sport's history. Now, France took over the CEO role in 2018 from his nephew, Brian France, but Jim came under scrutiny during the antitrust trial over the winter, and some even suggested that he should resign after some ugly information came to light. Now, during Jim France's tenure as NASCAR's top executive, he helped the sport move forward through numerous challenges, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, the new media rights deal, shaking up the schedule and visiting new markets, and getting a new charter agreement done after the antitrust trial. Now, O'Donnell said that France came on as a CEO at the time when NASCAR really needed it, and doesn't think that France gets enough credit for what he's accomplished, but is looking forward to paving his own way and making NASCAR a must-have sport. Now, the link to the O'Donnell's interview is in the video description below, and the photo is taken by Alejandro Alvarez from NASCAR Digital Media. Matt, coming to you. Good evening. How significant is it that Steve O'Donnell's is the first non-France family member to lead NASCAR in its history? And well, do you feel like it was time for a change at the top?
Well, that as an optic, not having a France at the top of the table is strange, but I feel like it's a good step. I mean, we covered on this show, the three of us and Tanner, who was our sort of court reporter on the Grid Tonight at the end of last year, all of the stuff with 2311 and how all that broke down at the end of last season. Steve Phelps went fairly quickly after that. The next domino to fall probably was going to be France, and that happened. I didn't expect it to happen or be, well, let's say, I didn't expect it to be broken on the Friday of Talladega weekend. It was a out of left field news story out of the blue, out of Jordan Bianchi's book. So that was quite a shocker. But I like the cut of Steve O'Donnell's jib quite early in this. He's obviously done the media round this week. He was on DBC last week. He was on the teardown at the weekend with Jordan Bianchi and Jeff Gluck, and said he wants to make NASCAR the biggest sport on the planet. It's hard. That's a big claim to make. I don't think he's going to get there. I'll put that out in now, but his ambition is clearly there. And you know, since the start of the season, really, and the turn of the year, obviously we had the court stuff, the end of the season stuff, and the court stuff, and then all of the things that happened over the winter that were quite sort of sad in the NASCAR world, again, which we covered on the show, the turn of the year. Since we got through all of that and we've had the championship chase changes announcement, when was that? Just before Daytona or end of January. And then there's a season beginning. Just does all feel like it is trending in the right direction, and hopefully that is the way that it carries on. Okay to fairly decent race again on Sunday at Dega, which we perhaps will touch on again later in the show. But it's all positively going, and just to have a little bit of a shake-up and a different thing at the top. Take Formula One. Bernie Eccleston there for seems like forever, pretty much from the sort of late 70s, early 80s until, was it 2015, 2016. And look how Formula One has gone on since the ownership changes had happened there, and different people at the top of things. So NASCAR are kind of perhaps hoping that a similar thing would happen to them. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Plenty of things need to be changed. People want change. Change is coming. So we'll have to wait and see how it pans out over the next couple of years, I guess. But big news that there isn't a France at the top end of things.
You said about liking the cut of his jib. We'll get more to that later. Jamie said, what is the likelihood of Jim France's sister convincing him to retire? I think she's the silent minority owner coming into it as well. I think he might retire, to be fair, as well. He was. I watched the press conference, same as you all can, with the link in description, and he was very sort of reflective, wasn't he, about his time? And he seemed like it was a genuine winding down of everything.
Yeah, sort of all the things that have gone on in the end of last season sort of feels like a good time for the France family to get out. There's not much, perhaps, love for them anymore from the core and the loudest part of the NASCAR fan fraternity. So, change is as good as a rest, as they say.
Change is as good as a rest as we come into it, because on the NASCAR website, the new CEO wrote a letter to the fans. O'Donnell started off by thanking outgoing CEO Jim France, who will stay on as chairman but won't be overseeing the day-to-day operations anymore. He called France a racer through and through and has led the sport with passion, steadiness and deep love, and believes that we're all better because of his leadership. But when O'Donnell talked about what his own leadership will bring, he said he's fired up about the future of NASCAR, which will be shaped by the fans and for the fans. Now, the link to this letter is also in the video description below. But when O'Donnell made an appearance on Inside the Race with Steve Letarte, O'Donnell said that he plans to spend the next little while listening to people and collecting feedback. He wants to hear people's opinions on what the senior leadership team needs to do to improve NASCAR as a whole. And on the other hand, when it comes to Ben Kennedy, he's a former driver. And since he retired from racing, he joined the family business and has worked his way up through the ranks, earning respect across the industry by many, especially from the drivers. At Darlington Raceway, Kennedy and his staff dressed up as race fans and watched the race from the grandstands to know what parts of the fan experience needs to be improved. Now, Kennedy is a member of the France family, and many believe that he'll hold the CEO title someday. So, Matt, back to you on this one. If new NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell is watching tonight, what ideas would you like for him to consider? And do you respect Ben Kennedy for putting in the work instead of sort of ascending directly to the top like many in his family-owned companies have done?
I work for a family business. So I know exactly how that goes. Hello to Steve, OD, if you are watching. I mean, he's been with NASCAR since '96, so he knows all of the inner workings of everything there is to know within the business side of things. So it's not like he's just walked in off the street. Let's hope that they listen to the fans. There's a lot of angst about lots of things. Again, Talladega was an example of that at the weekend. Commercials, the way the cars race, some of the drivers, etc., etc. So, listen, take on board, examine, brief, put some levers in place to move things around. We've had a little bit of a calendar shake-up over the last couple of years after some real stagnation in the calendar. Maybe they could do something again with that. let's see if there is a want for them again to perhaps go overseas with a points race back to Mexico, to Canada, or they were down at Brazil, weren't they, a few weeks ago? The NASCAR folk were at Guyana, where MotoGP was a few weeks ago, so that's perhaps on the horizon too. So I think there's going to be lots of things that do change over this next little period. Well, not this little period, but let's say over the next 3 years, let's say. And it'll be gradual. We won't see it all in one massive hit, but there'll be little bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere that I feel like everyone will go, oh, yeah, they've done that. I quite like that. It's little small differences here, there, and everywhere. So that's good. Ben Kennedy, obviously, as you mentioned, Josh, was a driver mostly in the sort of trucks and Xfinity Nationwide Series as it was then, and was brought sort of into this role by Steve O'Donnell back in the day when sort of Ben's driving career came to the close. So he's been behind the scenes for a long time too, and again has been on screen and on message, let's say, for quite some time in the background. So I think it's all feels like very positive. The sort of dark days of the trial and the end of last year feel like they're behind us now, and we can do an Artemis and go that way with NASCAR, perhaps. Keep it a bit more, to keep it current.
Really hope we can as well. It's going to be good. Any chance Penske Entertainment buys NASCAR in the future? I don't think they'd allow the monopoly, would they? To have both series.
No, well, indeed.
Well, it would also be IMSA as well, wouldn't it? As well, thinking about it, that's all three.
Yeah, because NASCAR owns IMSA. So, I don't know. Once Roger Penske isn't here anymore, let's say, it'll be interesting to see if the Penske Entertainment Group stay where they are in their position with IndyCar. Let's say that's going to be an interesting one to watch over the next however long that might take. It's a good question, but I don't feel like that on the horizon in the NASCAR world anyway.
I think there'll be a lot of people wanting. To be honest with you, I can see Liberty Media wanting to get involved in one of the racing series stateside, and arguably it's more NASCAR than Formula One. I could see that working as.
Once they've got themselves settled with MotoGP over the next couple of years, then maybe. What's next? Because of course it's an American company and they own a lot of American stuff, or as it is, in the sort of media rights areas. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens.
We'll keep an eye on that. That's a great question, Jamie. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to our second story of the evening, and we stay with NASCAR because after the first 10 races of the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season, Childress Racing has decided to make a change atop of the pit box. Now, as we previously discussed a few weeks ago, Kyle Busch has been having a miserable season and looks nothing like the driver he used to be. Last Sunday at Talladega, Busch scored his first top 10 finish of the 2026 season in the 10th race. Now, despite the first positive result of the year, RCR decided to remove Jim Pohlman as crew chief of the number 8 Chevrolet. Now, Pohlman will stay with the organization and transition into a leadership role with the competition department. Now, Andy Street will become Busch's new crew chief after serving as RCR's performance director. He was also the crew chief for RCR's number 33 Chevrolet in the Cup Series, the part-time third entry that comes out occasionally for the team's O'Reilly Auto Parts Series regulars Austin Hill and Jesse Love. Now, last year, Street got to work with Busch as a crew chief for the final 5 races because Randy Burnett left the team early to join Trackhouse Racing. Now, during those 5 races together, the Busch and Street pairing finished 13th or better 3 times in that very small sample size. Now, team president Mike Vanderleer said that they strongly believe that in the people they have and think the previous working relationship between the driver and new crew chief can improve the number 8 team and compete at a higher level. A graphic courtesy there of Childress Racing. On that, simple question for you: will a new crew chief make a difference in the Kyle Busch performance, or do you view this as a last-ditch effort by RCR to convince Busch to stay beyond the 2026 contract?
Last chance saloon stuff, isn't it? This, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when they made the previous change, and we were quite positive on it. Although that was the beginning of the season, wasn't it? And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago after Bristol when it was all looking like it was going a little bit wrong. And now they've made the change. As you said, these two worked together a sort of small sample size at the end of last season, but they were 13th or better in all of the starts. It's taken them 10 weeks of the season for Kyle Busch to get his first top 10 of the season this year, and it came on a drafting track. I feel like it'll take a couple of races for them to get the groove back going again. What are we, Texas this week? We've got the Dover All-Star race coming up in a few weeks' time. So that could be something where they go, right, let's do something a bit different here. It's not a points race. We don't have to worry about doing anything and getting it wrong. But if we find something, stumble upon something and it feels better, then that can be a good place to make some altercations and push the team forward, because as we said a couple of weeks ago when we talked about this sort of developing story, something needs to happen and needs to happen fast. Austin Dillon was fairly competitive at the weekend on Sunday and got wiped out in that crash going to the start-finish line with SVG and others, which was a shame. But good to see Kyle Busch with a bit of a smile on his face at the end of the race over top 10. So again, proof's in the pudding, and we'll find out over the next few weeks if this is getting them forward. But something needs to happen, because it's not just Kyle; it is the whole squad down there at RCR in the Cup Series. Not take the O'Reilly stuff away from them; that's a completely different kettle of fish. But in the Cup Series, it's struggle street for RCR, and they need something, because the further this goes on, the further chances either of them have got to. Because of course it is now pointing your way into the chase, and you can't have Austin Dillon landing at Richmond over as he's done for the last 2 years and find himself vaulted into the championship conversation like he has done. So they need to do something, and they need to do something quick. And this was getting to the point where if we don't do something now, we're going to miss. So I feel like this was about time for a change.
The last chance saloon. As Adam says, hi mates, hoping with Kyle Busch's new crew chief, Kyle will start to run better. I hope so too. I think that's going to be a big one. Jamie says, I think this new crew chief is getting in place for Busch's replacement driver, like a head start before Love comes up to the 8. We did discuss that, I think, in our commentary over the weekend. I don't know what you guys were talking about, but we thought, how long is Kyle Busch going to last in the 8?
There's a few people in the lesser series that are due at about time to come up. Corey Heim is the other one. Jesse Love, again, champion last season. Yeah, I mean, you might be on to something there, Jamie, with that move. If Jesse Love continues to do what he's doing in the Grand National Series, as we like to call it, then it won't be long before he's banging on the door of the 8 car, and that will be pushing Kyle Busch into retirement, more than likely.
I'm so sorry. I just had to think of what that I need to reply to quickly as well. The life of being busy when half the work is in Miami this weekend. That was a question about the press conference tomorrow, because I got sent in my link to watch it. Because, of course, if you watch on Sky Sports F1 or around the world, the press conference is never live. It takes place around about half an hour to 45 minutes before you actually see it. So just have to confirm my link for that. But let's move on to our third story of the evening as well. Jaguar TCS Racing have announced that they've reached a multi-agreement. I'm going to start that again. Jaguar TCS Racing has announced that they've reached a mutual agreement to part ways with long-term driver Mitch Evans at the end of the current ABB FIA Formula E World Championship season. Now, the partnership between Evans and Jaguar comes to an end after an entire decade together. Since 2016, when Jaguar joined Formula E, they've had drivers come through their program like Adam Carroll, Nelson Piquet Jr., Alex Lynn, James Collado, Sam Bird, and Nick Cassidy. But one thing that has remained the same: Evans stayed with the team from the very beginning, and now both sides are looking for a change. In his Jaguar tenure, up to this point, Evans has had 132 career starts, 15 EP victories, 21 podiums, 10 poles, 9 fastest laps, and finished second in the championship twice. Now, on the Grid Live wrap-up after the Madrid E-Prix, Kobe and Joe wondered if a split was on the horizon after Evans lost his temper with the team, including his teammate, Antonio Felix da Costa. Evans was upset because he felt like he had the pace to win, but the team didn't want him to fight da Costa for the win and potentially cost the team a victory in Spain. In a statement, Evans said, being with Jaguar since the very beginning has been incredible, but the time is right to embark on a new challenge in season 13, critically when the new Gen 4 comes into play. Our team principal Ian James said Evans has been a formidable competitor and a superbly gifted racing driver, and wish him well in the future. Graphic courtesy of Jaguar TCS Racing. Kobe's back with us for this bit, so I'll ask him first. Evans entered now this weekend the Berlin doubleheader third in the points. With the news made public now, can he and Jaguar contend for the Formula E title as he now makes his way out?
It's safe to say that this is a lame duck situation right now, since they're going to be parting ways now. And as you correctly stated, Josh, when we saw how Mitch Evans was acting at the end of the Madrid E-Prix, Joe and I talked about this, and we were like, can Mitch Evans actually leave Jaguar? Because he does not look happy with the team. It didn't seem like this was anger, stemming from a one-time incident of team orders telling him not to pass da Costa and, just protect the team in this situation. It seemed like it was something that had been building behind the scenes and finally reached a head. And I think that was the one moment that Mitch Evans reached his breaking point. And he was like, it's been a great 10 years together, but like in all places, sometimes you can just stay in one place for way too long. And I felt like it was just Mitch Evans' time to move on. And in motorsports, it's actually quite rare to see a driver in a lame duck situation win a championship on the way out and go to another team. That's not something you see all the time. So if we're looking at that from a historical perspective, Mitch Evans and Jaguar, the chance of them winning a championship, probably won't be a thing. But if you look at what's going on right now, Jaguar has a very strong package right now. I know they started off the season, rough, and not doing as well with a couple of DNFs there. But since they got to the Miami E-Prix, Sao Paulo and Mexico pretty rough for the both Jaguar driver, but once they got to Miami, they really started to turn things on. We saw Mitch Evans win the Miami E-Prix, and Antonio Felix da Costa is trying to win 3 in a row now after winning race 2 in Jeddah and then Madrid. So Jaguar is doing really good right now. So if they can maintain this package for the remainder of the season, I don't see why Mitch Evans, can't contend for the title with Pascal Wehrlein at the top and Eduardo Mortara, who's currently second in the championship. And it's just gonna come down to the team and driver continuing to push hard and work and work all hours of the day to make sure that they're at the top of their performance throughout the rest of the season. So I think if they don't let this lame duck situation become a distraction, they very well could rise to the occasion and potentially go out on top together as Mitch Evans looks ahead to his next chapter in Formula E, as the race is reported that he could be coming to the new Opel team that we talked about on this show, I believe maybe a month or two ago. Yeah, so Mitch Evans right now is one of the leading contenders to join the new Opel Formula E team, and it will look extremely strange next season not seeing Mitch Evans with Jaguar. It's really crazy that this is the only team that he's driven for his entire career, so it's going to be quite a different thing for the team and the driver next year.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's going to be very strange to not see Mitch much, as they would say in New Zealand, at Jag next year. You said, they had a little bit of a tussle and falling out after the Madrid. If you think back to London last summer at the finale, it was him and Nick Cassidy toing and throwing on the radio between those two guys and the team. I think it's especially in the Saturday race about things going on the racetrack. So not a new thing, perhaps, for Mitch, although I feel like from memory that was more on the Cassidy side of things. And, of course, he's left the team anyway. But what are we coming up to? Gen 4, aren't we? The next set of FE regs, which start next season. Good time to make your move to a, as Kobe mentioned, perhaps new and incoming manufacturer to get one of the guys that's been in the championship pretty much ever since feels like from the very beginning, but not quite, but for a very, very long time. That's going to have plenty of experience to bring on board for a new manufacturer that will need some experienced drivers. And Mitch has got, if he chooses to stay in Formula E for the next part of his driving career, he's going to be one of the most experienced drivers, because we're going to lose the likes over the next couple of years of the DeGrassis, the Verns, the Boemis of this world, who have been in it from day dot. So into the sort of second generation of old guard, in that sense. Can they still win the championship? Of course they can. And we've seen how well Jaguar have done in the back end of the seasons over both the last couple of years, and falling short of the title both times with Cassidy and latterly with Evans as well. So he's still in the fight. It will be a bit of a nice thing for the new manufacturer to have the reigning champion come to their team, if that is what ends up happening. A bit like Chaz Mostert in Supercars, wasn't it? Like winning the championship and big up in a Toyota for this year. So with the number one on the door, or number one on the nose cone, as it would be in Formula E. So yeah, nice for them to have it, but as Kobe says, it's going to be very odd to see. I mean, Cassidy was there for quite some time as well before that, but for both of those two guys not to be at Jaguar next season is going to be looking very strange indeed.
You know, it's going to be a funny weekend as well with this one, and I'm looking forward to being on the commentary call for Berlin E-Prix, and it's a doubleheader, just like it's a doubleheader for Formula One. It's going to be a busy weekend, so my voice may be needing some vocal tuning after this. I'm trying to keep it BBC Radio 4 news level tonight, just to not lose it. Let's go in then to our fourth story, and it certainly is a hot topic, because this is a hot topic, especially coming into the month of May. In a major development, first was reported by Adam Stern from the Sports Business Journal, Penske Entertainment plans to ban non-chartered teams from entering other NTT IndyCar Series races outside the Indianapolis 500. Now, starting in 2027, Penske Entertainment won't allow any open cars to compete in any IndyCar races but the Indy 500. So the days of a team debuting or an existing team fielding a non-chartered car in another race will be over. Now, Stern says the hope is that this move will increase the value of owning an IndyCar charter, because without a charter, you can't be a part of the show more than once per year. Now, in 2027, non-Indy 500 racers won't have more than 25 cars entered, but the maximum field size will increase to 27 when Chevrolet and Honda are awarded manufacturer charters. Now, it's already been announced that Meyershank Racing will eventually become a 3-car team, because Honda has chosen them to field their chartered entry, but Chevrolet hasn't announced which team that it'll run theirs yet. Now, according to Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com, Penske Entertainment reserves the right to fill the grid in the best interest of the sport if we have fewer than 25 chartered entries in 2027 or 27 chartered entries in 2028. Now, Pruitt added that this new rule officially ends any hopes of anyone investing in what's left of Prima's IndyCar program and prevents any Indy 500 only teams from expanding their programs. The link to this article is in the video description below. Now, Penske Entertainment sent the Sports Business Journal a statement saying they reached this decision after thoughtful consideration with key stakeholders and believe it could motivate non-chartered teams to buy one of the 25 charters, raising the demand for a charter and increasing the selling price. Now, the link to this article also is in the video description below, and photo taken by Chris Jones from Penske Entertainment. It's happening again. It's ironic that the 1996 Indy 500 is on my screen right now for some unknown reason. It feels very deja vu. Kobe, starting with you, what are your thoughts on IndyCar deciding to ban non-chartered teams from competing non-Indy 500 races next year?
I guess the next step is going to be guaranteed entries into the Indy 500 right after this, which a lot of people, did not want to see. But honestly, I'm not really a fan of this move. I think it's incredibly disappointing that IndyCar has decided to gatekeep the number of entries that can enter a race outside of the Indianapolis 500. And I know nowadays it's quite rare to actually see, a team that's not currently running full time in the series, a brand new team, run a race here or there outside of Indy, or even one of the teams that have charters, it's rare to see them fill an open car outside of the Indianapolis 500. So I guess in that sense, it may not make much of a difference, but I don't really think it's a good thing to prevent any new teams who want to join the grid from actually participating in the races. And Josh, you mentioned Prima. We know we've been talking about the Prima drama, since last fall. Well, not since last fall, actually late summer, when we found out that they were having some major financial issues. And that's what happens, when you try to run full time in a series without a charter, you're going to be losing a whole bunch of money, and it's not sustainable from a financial standpoint long term. And Prima, they found that out, and that's why their IndyCar program is basically officially gone now. And I know that I guess what was the remnants of Prima, they were looking for investors to try to keep the team going. And with this new rule coming out, nobody's going to invest in that because they won't be allowed to be on the grid more than once a year, which is incredibly disappointing. And if you look at the Indianapolis 500 entry list, right now we got 33 cars this year. Unfortunately, they're not going to be any bumping this year. And IndyCar, as they always do in years like this, they work really hard to try to get to the field of 33. And for that sake, I'm glad we can keep the tradition rolling of 33 cars on the grid. But look at HMD Motorsports. We know HMD because they've made a name for themselves in Indy Lights as a powerhouse organization there. And it's really cool to see that they're partnering with Floyd to come to the Indy 500. But if HMD wanted to try to come into IndyCar someday, this could be the only race they'll run of the year. They wouldn't have a chance to say give an up and comer in Indy Next and IndyCar start when Indy Next is not sharing a race weekend with IndyCar. They wouldn't be able to do that. And that would be disappointing. Then you have Abel Motorsports. They got Jacob Abel in the car. I know Jacob Abel was running full time in IndyCar last year. I know he's grateful that he'll be in the Indy 500 this year, but I'm sure he would love to run other IndyCar races. So under this rule, he would only be able to run Indy, and he could not run with his family-owned team anywhere else without a charter. And then you look at the dry and run bowl cars. They've been extremely fast these last 2 days in the open test. I know Jack Harvey had an engine failure in the closing hours of the test today, but still dry and run bowl, they're looking really good. And the owners of dry and run bowl have been on the record in the last few years talking about how they want to get back into full-time IndyCar racing. And the only way they can do that is getting a charter. So outside of Indy, you wouldn't be able to see a dry and run bowl, try to expand that program, maybe run some of the short oval races, maybe a road course here or two. Yeah, so that just would not be possible. But it is interesting that in the days leading to the open test, Dry and Run Bowl announced that they're partnering Renus VK's number 76 team for the Indianapolis 500. So it's not just a Juncos Hollinger Racing car that Renus VK is driving. It's a Juncos Hollinger Racing Dry and Run Bowl car, which I find very interesting, which makes me wonder if Dry and Run Bowl is going to be joining the ownership group with Juncos Hollinger Racing in the future, or could they potentially buy that number 76 charter from Juncos Hollinger Racing? So that's some food for thought there. But but all in all, very disappointed that IndyCar has decided to prevent teams without a charter from competing in races outside of the Indianapolis 500. I mean, you won't see any more cool stories like a Christian Lundgaard, who was a Formula 2 driver at the time, qualifying on the second row at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. That was quite a story to see a Formula 2 driver at the time, and Christian Lundgaard come in and almost get the pole, which was an incredible story. So you won't see that anymore. You won't see RLL fielding an extra entry for someone like Yuri Vips, someone else from the Formula 2 world getting a start. Or if you had, let's say, a big name driver from Formula E or the Formula 1 world wanted to come give IndyCar a whirl, they wouldn't be able to do that unless they were on a chartered entry. So I really think that in that aspect, it's going to hurt IndyCar quite a bit. But at the same time, I do understand what they're trying to say, that, if we make the value of having a charter rise, we'll get those non-chartered teams getting the money together to try to buy them, and then the selling price will increase. So I get what they're saying there, but I'm still on the fence of that this is not a good idea at all.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, Kobe. I get all the points you put across there. But it really hasn't been a thing, as you say, it hasn't really been a thing for the last couple of years where we have someone just turn up and run at a Iowa, St. Pete, Portland, Toronto with an extra entry. So I don't think it's going to visually, it's going to make no difference at all in terms of the championship. But they want to protect the main show, which of course is the 500. So it's just going to be difficult for any team now that wants to try and come in. I think it feels like, as you say, it feels like more difficult now for a team that wants to come in full time by dipping their toe, say later on this season, and thinking about coming in next year. I don't know if this will change when we eventually ever get the new car, but there's not a vast amount of chassis doing the rounds at the moment, is there? For the fact that A, it's really old, and B, lots of them have been shunted. So hopefully we don't have any more of them crashed and destroyed over the next couple of weeks at the Speedway. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit on the fence about this, but what I will say is, much like a comment made by a certain analyst this week who didn't know what he was talking about, this feels like people are getting their hair on fire for no good reason at all. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
We might touch on it again in a little while.
Is it hot or is it not? It's beyond crazy with IndyCar ending open entries. What are they doing? Says Adam. Completely agree with you on that as well. It seems a bit daft, but cash is king, isn't it? Even in these games coming into it.
All right, Josh, there's one thing that I learned about the IndyCar charter situation by reading through Marshall Pruitt's article. There's another way a new team could get into the series, and it's through that manufacturer charter that's been awarded to both Honda and Chevrolet. We already have, on the Honda side of things, they've already chosen Meyer Shank Racing. And as you said, Chevrolet hasn't made that decision yet. So so the rule is, that the manufacturers cannot, join a team that's already maxed out its charter. So if you're like a Penske with 3 charters, and plus it wouldn't look good, in this situation, Penske Entertainment, for Team Penske been awarded another charter for them to, for them to get a 4th charter. Yeah, so it has to be a team with either 1 or 2, an existing charter team with only 1 or 2 charters. Those are the only options that Chevrolet can choose. Or you can bring a new team into the series. So I guess in that way, if a HMD Motorsports wanted to come in, or Able Motorsports, or even Dry and Rumble, they could partner with Chevrolet and get into the series that way. So not all hope is lost for any new teams who may want to enter the series full time. Yeah, but would Chevrolet want to do something like that? And also another thing that Marshall mentioned, that the manufacturer could just start up their own team. And we already know that Chevrolet has its own team called Pratt Miller Motorsports. And we've seen rumors over the last few years that Pratt Miller Motorsports were looking to get into IndyCar. So maybe none of the existing IndyCar teams will be a candidate, or any of the teams I mentioned who are Indy 500 only. They could just do Pratt Miller Motorsports and just run their own program.
Looks like it's going to be a wild couple of months, and I think it's going to heat up a lot during the month of May, with so much time to talk about it in the practice commentaries. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We'll keep you up to date with everything that happens then around all the stories we've mentioned tonight. Before we hear more, Matt has more from the Grid EPA update.
A busy weekend it was as well from the Grid Endurance Performance Index, and we'll start in Austria at the Red Bull Ring, where 2 of our championships got underway with their opening rounds of the season. First of all, the DTM got underway this weekend, and it was a win for Porsche on Saturday. The homeboy, Thomas Preining, coming home to win at his home track on Saturday for Manthey. He was the winner of the Saturday race. The Sunday race went to Mercedes, and stalwart of the Mercedes brand, that being Maro Engel, getting the victory on Sunday, led home, as you can see in the shot there, Thomas Preining in second position. The ADAC GT Masters was in support of the DTM, as it is pretty much every weekend nowadays. And they were also at the Red Bull Ring. And the first race came down to the very last corner. Finn Zulaf and Felix Herslinger got the run out of the final corner and across the line to take the victory in the first race of the weekend in their Lamborghini. It was a 1-2 for one of the Porsche teams on Sunday, with Leo Picher and Colin Boynghausen getting the victory in the red and white Porsche on screen there for the second race of the ADAC GT Masters at the weekend. Bit closer to home for me and Josh, the British GT Championship got underway at the weekend at Silverstone. The first time it has started at Silverstone since 2001, can you believe? And as you can see from the grandstand in the background, big attendance and a good number on the stream as well. So that is good to see. And it was on Sky Sports F1 Live as well here in the UK on Sunday. And they saw a non-championship regular, someone coming in. So back to our IndyCar story from before, just turning up, decided to have a go at the race, and they won. Yasser Shahin and Garnet Patterson, 2 Australians, come to Silverstone and take home the Silverstone 500 victory. So congratulations to them. They will be a non-factor in British GT for the rest of the season, but they've taken the big race of the year in that championship away from the regulars. Also at the weekend, a bit closer to home for Kobe, at Circuit of the Americas, GT World Challenge USA had its second round of the season. Dave Meisel Jr. and Ryan Yardley, the winners in that Porsche, due to penalties for other vehicles towards the end of the race. They are a Pro-Am car, so they get bonus points in the Grid EPI for winning in a non-top category team. Mika Stevens and Michael Grenier were the Pro winners. They came second overall, but were the winners of the Pro category. We've got graphics to show you this week. We didn't have them last week, but we have got them this week to see who is top of the leaderboard through week 5, and it is joint leaders Felipe Nasr and Julian Andauer, the 2 Penske Porsche Motorsports IMSA drivers, at the top of the standings. As you can see, it's sort of quite IMSA heavy in the top 10. Former leaders Robin Fryns in 5th and Jordan Pepper in 10th, still up towards the top of the championship, but Anke van der Zande in there, the Estra Vanfour combination from the other Porsche team in IMSA, and Matt Campbell, their teammate in that car as well, from the endurance races. They're all up towards the top end of town. Here is how the rest of the top 50 looks as we head into the busiest weekend of the year so far. That you can pick out one or more of your favourite drivers on screen while I tell you what's going on this weekend, because it again is busy. IMSA is back in action. They're on the west coast at Laguna Seca for round 4 of the championship. At Paul Ricard in France this weekend, it is the second round of the European Le Mans Series. Our final full season championship to get underway in the Grid EPI is this weekend at Brands Hatch. That is the GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup. 2 races on Sunday for them. And in a brilliant calendar clash, and I didn't sort of realise this was a thing until I just looked it up this evening, the GT World Challenge Asia Series gets going at Mandalika in Indonesia. And a lot of those teams that run in that championship also running GT300 in Super GT. And guess what? That's on this weekend as well for its Golden Week traditional race at the Fuji Speedway over in Japan. So very busy weekend. 7 more races to tell you about on the show next week. And that will, with IMSA especially, that'll shuffle the top end of the leaderboard, you can be sure. So plenty of spreadsheet work to be done for myself next week to get us ready for week 6 of the Endurance Performance Index. Before we get to Hots and Knots, let's hand over to Kobe with more of the week's headlines.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. The Audi Formula One team named Alan McNish, its new racing director. McNish has been an important part of Audi's motorsports history, dating back to his days of winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans overall multiple times in the 2013 FIA World Endurance Championship LMP1 title. As Audi F1 racing director, McNish will be responsible for coordinating all trackside operations, which includes oversight of sport matters, engineering coordination, driver management, race strategy, garage operations, including on-track media and partner activities. After being with the Audi F1 project since the very beginning, McNish's new role will begin this weekend at the Miami Grand Prix. McNish said it's a privilege to take on this role for a marquee that means a lot to him and looks forward to contributing more directly to trackside performance. Photo courtesy of Audi F1. NASCAR broadcasters Clint Boyer and Jamie McMurray will make their returns to the driver's seat in the Craftsman Truck Series. Boyer and McMurray will drive the number 25 Ram 1500 free agent truck for Colic Racing during the All-Star Weekend. Boyer will compete at Dover Motor Speedway, while McMurray will participate in the inaugural Truck Series event on the San Diego Street Course at Naval Base Coronado. Tim Kaniskis from Ram said adding these 2 veterans of the Cup Series is why they created the free agent truck, to add another level of excitement and give fans a chance to see their favorites back behind the wheel who retired from full-time racing. Graphic courtesy of Colic Racing. During Sunday's NASCAR Race Day pre-race show on Fox, Tyler Reddick announced he signed a contract extension with 2311 Racing in the best start of his Cup Series career after winning 5 Of the first 9 races, Reddick will be the driver to number 45, 2311 Racing Toyota for the foreseeable future. With Reddick off the market for 2027, he and his team can solely focus on this year's championship, as 2311 will continue building around him for years to come. On his Actions Detrimental podcast, 2311 co-owner Denny Hamlin said Reddick deserves everything he gets because he's performing at a very high level. Hamlin added that he was involved in the negotiations to make sure his driver got his bag because he looks out for his guys. Graphic courtesy of 2311 Racing. Catherine Legg became the 33rd and final entry for next month's 110th Indianapolis 500. Legg will drive the number 11 Chevrolet for HMD Motorsports with sponsorship from Elf Cosmetics. HMD will team up with AJ Foyt Racing for this one-off program in the month of May, so Legg will have access to information from drivers Kyle Collette and Santino Ferrucci as she gets back up to speed in the IndyCar world. For HMD, they've made their presence known as a powerhouse organization in Indy Next, and an Indy 500 program represents a significant step in their growth. Team president Mike Marini said Legg brings a wealth of experience and Foyt brings unmatched history, so he believes they've assembled a program that can make a strong impression. Graphic courtesy of HMD Motorsports. And according to WSOC TV 9, based in Charlotte, North Carolina, newly released search warrants provide an update on the home break-in of the late Greg Biffle. On the night of January 7th into the early morning hours of January 8th, the masked individual you see on the screen broke into Biffle's home in Mooresville, North Carolina, only weeks after Biffle, his family, and friends lost their lives in a plane crash. Law enforcement believes that this person is a woman who was a so-called friend of the Biffle family, and surveillance footage released by the Iredell County Sheriff's Department showed someone walking into Biffle's house who seemed to know exactly where they were going inside, including being aware of where surveillance cameras were located. The search warrants say the masked individual was inside the home for 6 hours during the night, stealing $30,000 in cash, multiple guns and jewelry. A license plate reader allegedly captured a vehicle belonging to the person of interest, in this case near the Biffle home, before the break-in. A few days ago, it was reported that law enforcement searched this individual's home and storage unit, but no arrests have been made at this time. During the Celebration of Life event on January 16th, Biffle's close friend Cletus McFarlane gave his emotional Be Like Biff speech. At that event, the authorities believe the person of interest attended the remembrance ceremony, with the individual in attendance matching the description of the masked person on the screen. After law enforcement released the surveillance footage of the masked individual inside of Biffle's home, this person allegedly called off plans to attend a gathering with friends, and instead they traveled to the state of Pennsylvania. If an arrest is made in this case, we'll report about it here on Grid Tonight. Link to this article in the video description below, and photo courtesy of the Iredell County Sheriff's Department. And that's all of the headlines I have for you all tonight. So I'm going to turn over to Matt for everyone's favorite game. Pick a winner.
As they used to say here in the UK on Crime Watch, don't have nightmares. That is a wild story. Right, before we do Hots and Knots, let's do Pick a Winner. And here is the leaderboards as it stands going into the weekend. Kobe has dropped away from being the joint leader as he was when we did this last week. Matt has got 2 points on him, and they're both streaking clear of, well, everybody else. Tanner in third on 12. I have jumped up to 10. JT is on 9, and JB is on 8. Plenty of opportunity for you to get your name on that leaderboard. Still 150 points plus available between now and the end of the season. We're going to pick 3 of them, or attempt to pick 3 of them, right here, right now on the show for stuff that's happening this weekend. As Josh mentioned earlier on, it is a double header this weekend at the Berlin Tempelhof Airport for Formula E. We're going to pick race 1, which of course is on Saturday, right here, right now. I've got absolutely no idea what's been going on in Formula E over the last couple of races. As we talked about earlier, I'm going to go with Mitch Evans, just because. Kobe, who you got?
Yeah, that'd be quite a way for Mitch Evans to respond to the start of his length up season in Formula E to get a win. But I'm going to go with his teammate. I think he's going to get 3 in a row. Give me Antonio Felix da Costa. You got Josh?
I'm going to go for Nick Cassidy, hopefully, because it's a circuit he likes, and he's just slowly creeping up with Citroën at the moment. That it could be a very interesting track. It's fast, it's flowing, good late breaking points. It's his type of track.
We had 2 really good races there last year, weather affected as one of them was as well. Right, talking of weather affected, we might see some weather in Miami over the weekend for the Formula One, which of course is a bit up in the air with all the regulation changes as we touched on last week. Extra practice time on Friday. It's a sprint weekend as well, which means we have a sprint race to pick for this week. And it's, as I say, a little bit open because we don't know what the regulation changes are going to do to the running order. I feel like it's going to stay roughly the same, which means I'm going to go with my championship pick, George Russell, to win the sprint on Saturday for the purple adorned Mercedes team. Kobe, who you got?
Yeah, that's quite an interesting livery that the Mercedes team is going to be running. But yeah, I have to agree with you. I think for the most part, we're going to see things relatively the same. Maybe some teams have used the downtime within last month to further develop the cars. But for now, I think I'm going to go with the Mercedes driver George Russell to get the job done in the sprint in Miami. How about you, Josh?
I'm going to go for Tinky Winky. Which, if you're not American, if you're not British, you won't get that. So, Kobe, we've got a show over here called Teletubbies. I don't know. Do you get it over there?
Yes, I've seen the Teletubbies.
Yes, you get the joke. Yes, brilliant. Yes.
Watching
actually, I'm going to go for the Poe driver, the red one. I'm going to go for Lewis Hamilton. He's been training a hell of a lot over the last 5 weeks. He looks very much in shape. He likes where the car's been developed at. They had the running at the Nürburgring and it looked good. And they also did a couple of days at Fiorano. I think he's got it pretty much sussed. I think Lewis is back. I'm very confident he's going to have a good weekend. And it's the first weekend, I think, with his new permanent race engineer, which we'll hopefully have news on tomorrow.
Interesting times ahead then in the Miami Grand Prix. Plenty of coverage across the weekend from everybody. And lastly, to pick from on the show tonight is one of our EPI races. And we include IMSA into pick a winner. And they are, as I mentioned earlier, at Laguna Seca. I am going to go with a team that needs a result. I think they might get it this weekend. Wayne Taylor, number 10, my pick for Sunday's IMSA race at Laguna. Kobe?
I think I'll go with the team that's won the most races so far this year. I rarely pick them for pick a winner, and when I don't pick them, they always end up winning. So I'm gonna pick them this week and see if anything will happen. So I'm gonna go with the number 7 Porsche. See if Felipe Nasr and Julian Edelauer can go 3 for 4 here in 2026. Before Anna, you just gonna read this quick comment from Jamie in reference to the Biffle story I just read. You says that home is a mere 4 miles from where you live in Denver, North Carolina. Yeah, I guess the story hits very close to home for you, Jamie. A real scary situation. But getting back to pick a winner, Josh, who are you picking to win at Laguna Seca?
I'm sticking to my guns and always saying the number 7. It's kind of like my go-to with IMSA because they're always running towards the front and very rarely do they actually have any trouble. It's more the second half of the season where their advantage starts to dip and we see more winners. So in this early part of the season, you stick to your guns and you go with the number 7.
It is a huge weekend of motorsport this weekend, and there are 6 pick-a-winner points available for the weekend. 2 for Formula E, 2 for Formula One, because of course it's a sprint weekend. The IMSA race at Laguna Seca, and NASCAR is heading to Texas on Sunday for the next round of the Cup Series. Adam is going Evans for FE, Hamilton for Sprint. He's also going with me with the number 10 Wayne Taylor car. And by the way, I also remember the Teletubbies. You have got up until the races start to select your pick a winner, and if you fancy a change, you can do that as long as you get it in on social media using the hashtag pick a winner across all of the social media channels before the race starts. If you decide to change, then you certainly can do that. Right, lastly but not leastly, with as we're about 5 minutes to go in the first hour of this show, hots and knots from the weekend. Go.
I don't know. It was Talladega was long.
The first stage felt like a week.
It did. It felt stage 1. I like what they did with reversing it. So instead of it being 45, 45, 90, whatever it was, 98.
Yeah.
It was 98, 45, 45. I see the principle, but it didn't do anything. It didn't do a damn thing. And you were sat there going, oh yeah, we've yet to end stage one. And it's like when that first yellow came, it was like, oh, right, okay, wake up time. Because now we're into the good part, which was the 45 sprint laps, which only were really 36, let's be fair. And I know, at a super speedway, you take 9 laps to, do cautions, and it's just
getting worse.
I'm going to say this. If you want to stop the fuel saving, do what stage 1 proved. Remove the stages. We had green flag pit stops twice in stage 1 when we were only estimated to have 1 green flag stop. The strategy went a bit askew and we had to have another one just before the stage break. If we didn't have that caution for the stage break, we would have seen a much better race. And I was fuming up in the box because we don't need them. Stages need to go. We've gone back to a chase format. If Steve, if you're listening, get rid of stages. They are now just completely irrelevant. And I hate them. I really hate them because it just killed any momentum that race was slowly building to. Everybody was working to fuel strategy. Everybody was working to, we just got to get the 45 laps sprint, wink. And then what happened in stage 2? With about 75 to go? Everybody wrecks. One of the biggest wrecks we've ever seen. Was it 30? Was it out of the 40 cars, 4 got through. 36 cars were caught up in that. And almost a clean sweep. What on earth are you doing? That was all because of the fuel staging. And then it was Bubba right at the front of the field who got turned around as well. Or should I say it was Bollis, as Mike Joy called him on the commentary. Didn't think I didn't miss that. Yeah, he called him, and Boris is in the wall. Boris. I was like, what? Who the hell's that? So Mike, getting a bit caught up in the moment, he wanted to go for Bubba, and then he just came out with Bollis, which is a very much a strange mix-up between Wallace and Gromit and Boris Johnson. Yeah, you're on the same wavelength as me there. But yeah, not the best. Did not like it. But all in all, Talladega, it was a good ending. And I think it was a very timely win, finally, as well for Carson Hocevar. Just hot. Yes. Great drive on the side. Don't do that again. Did you not learn from last year with Konasilich?
It's not that they've not fined him. They've not told him he can't do that again. If he hadn't hit the wall so hard, trying to get the car to stop, it wouldn't have been so bad.
It was hilarious.
Yes, they've moved the boring part of that race to the beginning in the hope that people won't be watching at the beginning and come to watch it at the end.
Yeah.
And I said on our call on Ultimate Sports that we're going to come in here, we're going to get fuel at the end of stage 2. We should have plentiful to get to the end of the race, unless we get overtime. Which of course we did get, because that was. But so, as I said, also we've had the fuel saving, we've had a big crash, and we've had overtime. I don't know what the problem is. We've had all the things, just in a different order. But yes, that first stage did feel like it went on for an absolute eternity.
Of course, 3 first-time winners. Forgot about that.
Yes, indeed, yeah. And the last time that happened in a race weekend of NASCAR was at Talladega. Tate Fogelman in the truck race. Brandon Brown in the Xfinity race as it was, and Bubba Wallace's first win in the Cup race. Cletus finishing second in the ARCA race on Saturday was also a hot from Adam. You're going to get fuel saving. You just are. Unless you make it a 20-lap race, you're going to get fuel saving. And you might not like the stage breaks and the things, Josh. But I tell you who does like them: television companies.
Oh.
Then they can get more adverts in. And you know what the adverts mean? The stages don't start till lap 7 or 8 of the stage. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Now, I'm interested. Did you guys talk about it in the commentary as much as we did? The fact is that they went to so many commercial breaks and they claimed it was, because we knew about the stages, we had to change our schedule, but it was pre-programmed. JT had all of the documents with all of the breaks, and he was telling us, that's wrong. They've messed that up. Don't know what they're doing now. So it wasn't pre-planned. Whoever was that new director that's doing it this year, has just gone, quick, nothing's happening. People falling asleep. Commercial.
I did say exactly those words to JT before both of us went on the air on Sunday. I don't know why you need that. You're just going to throw it out the door.
He did. He threw it out. He did. I think he threw it up in the end.
Moving away from Talladega, should we go to Spain? Jerez.
Yeah.
The Grand Prix on Sunday wasn't the best, but the sprint race on Saturday, my goodness.
It was amazing, wasn't it? I think that
really
was
good.
The first ever flag-to-flag sprint race. Many people didn't like it, and I can see why, but it's a sprint race, and I like the flag-to-flag rule, mainly because if it starts raining, do you really want to red flag the race, change all the tyres, and go again? It's like
just in case it stops, and then you've wasted your time stopping the race. Yeah,
exactly. I like the fact that we've got two bikes, so you can come in. It worked. Look, Moto 2, Moto 3 don't have the two bikes, so they have to red flag the race if it rains. Yes. But in MotoGP, it's the prime show. You want it as good and as quick as possible. Flag to flags work, and
as entertaining as possible.
Yeah, and it gave the riders the opportunity, you can call when you come in. I think it needs to change, though, because if it's really raining like it was, I think race control needs to step in and say, look, now you must change bikes.
Must stop.
This is, yeah.
We had the shot of Aldeguer, didn't we, who'd stayed out, caught by both of the Ducatis as if they were in a different class because he was going so slowly on dry tyres.
Yeah, I think look, that's the thing. Race control needs to step in and say, this is where we would have thrown the red flag. You box this lap. As something like, and obviously if it gets worse, then you red flag it.
Yeah, I agree.
We need a mandatory, as soon as I'll tell you what we need as a rule is within 3 laps of the white flag being waved, which in MotoGP is you can change bikes. Within 3 laps of that, you must change bikes. That makes more sense. And you could, improve. Yeah, and then you can retract that if it's the case because it's getting ridiculous. Because Mark crashing at turn 13, coming back into the pit lane, that was controversial, but he did it legally. I mean, he waited for everyone to go by.
He came, for those who didn't see it, Marc Marquez leading the sprint race, crashed in the left-hand hairpin, the very famous left-hand last corner at Jerez, at slow speed, got the bike picked up, engine didn't cut out, he managed to keep it running, got up, waited for the traffic to go by, found a gap, but then carried on across the grass on the inside and got into the pit lane, made his bike change, and then still ended up winning the race. And everyone went, "Whoa, he should get a penalty for that." Well, he did get a penalty because he fell off.
He fell off, yeah. He lost time.
If he stayed out for one lap, he wouldn't have won.
Yeah, and it's like not his fault that everybody else did that lap. Win. Yeah, in Austria a couple of years ago, and I feel like it's not like Formula One where there's a designated cone and point where if you go, you can't come back into the pit lane after that point. Yeah, because it's the sensor line, isn't it?
For the speed limit line, which he made.
He made it, yeah. So it's fine. Yeah. So in my book, it was legal. It's just a cheeky way. He didn't endanger anybody. It was, in my opinion, what was worse over the weekend is where we saw Jack Miller, Jorge Martin in qualifying and practice crash, and they ran across the circuit with riders coming into the pit lane and coming into the last corner to get on this bike too. You're not allowed to do that. There's a tunnel just behind these, but to go down back into the pits. Crossing, they should have got a penalty because they ran across the circuit. Mark rode across the circuit on a bike after waiting for everyone to go through. So it was slightly different, but I thought it was just sportsmanship. Personally, if we execute everybody who does something unique and sporting, we're just going to kill motorsport because it was gamesmanship and it was sportsmanship and it was clever. So what? It's just like how last year. When it was raining on the grid in Kota, he ran off as soon as the signal was given. Yeah. And then it happened again the very next race, didn't it, in France with the regulation, and everyone came into the pit lane and we had to delay the start 20 minutes and then the weather changed again and everybody changed back for a second time after we red flagged the race, and then weather changed again, so we had to change a third time, and it ends up with Zarco winning. And I think Zarco, by the way, very good in those wet conditions. He was second in qualifying, very good in the sprint. And if it was just wet on race day, he would have got it. But a hot has to be Alex Marquez, the king of Jerez. 2 years on the bounce.
Yeah.
Just nothing wrong. He was perfect. He actually passed Mark, and Mark didn't have an issue. Mark actually crashed trying to catch Alex to repass him. And it was like, what
no, he was in the lead when he was in the lead when he fell off.
No, he wasn't. Alex had passed him earlier on that lap. Alex had got through down at turn 8 through Aspar. He went round the outside, and then down at turn 12, that's when Mark went down. He dropped the front. Alex was already leading.
Okay. I thought he was in the lead. One thing I will say on the Mark thing from Saturday, the only penalty that should be given is to the circuit of Jerez for poor track design. Because if that happened at Cota, he wouldn't have been able to get in the pits if he'd fallen at the last corner. If that happened at Silverstone, it wouldn't have been able to do that. Motegi, just other places. Valencia, that's before the pit entry, so that would be okay. There's plenty of places where you can't do that, and he just used what was in front of him.
Can't do it at Qatar either anymore because they've moved the pit lane back to the last corner.
They did. Then they took it away, didn't they?
I don't know.
Back to how it was.
I think it might have gone back to normal for MotoGP, but it's not for Formula One.
Formula One, yeah.
All work. It's weird how Qatar's working out. I'll tell you what. I've got the new F1 game. I'll go and have a look, and I've got the MotoGP. I'll compare it and get back to you. But yeah, I'll tell you what. From equal weekends, there's hots and nots. That's a very unusual thing. Usually, there's a clear knot, but there's multiple. Like that's a hot. That's also a knot. I can't really pin one down. I think, I'll tell you what's actually funny, which could be a possible knot for next week. It's been 5 weeks since the last Formula One Grand Prix in Japan. We might get the sprint race on Saturday, but we might not get the Grand Prix on Sunday because there was lightning in the area and it could cancel the race. So, we might have to wait, 7 weeks before the first Grand Prix, which is in Canada, after the Indy 500, which is also very... It's just mad. And here's an interesting fact for you. It was 41 days between the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix of 2025 and Barcelona Shakedown Day 1. Between the Japanese Grand Prix and Miami Free Practice, which don't forget is 90 minutes, it's 33 days. We've had an off season in the gap. Just mind-blowing.
Yes, anyone looking forward to the World Cup this summer, if there's lightning in the area at the Grand Prix at the weekend, you're going to have to deal with this for the World Cup. And as I'm calling a game every day for the group stage of the World Cup, it might be a long night for me. One quick final hot from the weekend. Congratulations to Sebastian Vettel and Sylvain Guintoli on completing the London Marathon at the weekend. Both of them in cracking times. Both of them for charity, and especially for Sylvain, who ran in levers. He
smashed it. Was it 3 hours 47, which was something 13 minutes
and Vettel
quicker?
Was about 3 hours.
Yeah, just below, wasn't it? 2:59. And something like also, that, I wanted a non-motorsport hot. Well done to the guy, the young Kenyan man who did sub 2 hour? Yeah, 1:59. I feel sorry for the guy who came in second, who also did a sub 2 hour, but came second.
And third, I think, broke the world record, but only finished third. I can't do 5K, which is 2.5 miles in under 30 minutes, let alone 26 miles in 2 hours. So,
I tell you what, Nina's got the pretty muddy. Yeah, Nina's got the pretty muddy 5K next week for Stand Up to Cancer. Not looking forward to hearing that as well. Although she was training today and did quite well. But yeah, it's going to be good. Well done. Good luck to all the marathon runners who are still running into the marathons over the summer as well. Good luck to you as well.
Yes,
we're not doing that. I'm sitting in my lovely chair. Although I must admit,
Cup winner on Sunday, says Jamie.
Yes.
Who's left? I feel like we burned through a couple, haven't we, with Carson and with Ty over the last few weeks. Don't know. Who is there that's left that runs well?
I would really love it to be Zilich, but that trackhouse isn't. Ryan Priest was nearly winning in Dega.
He won the Grey, obviously, but that didn't count as it wasn't a non-points race. He's probably the next man.
Yeah, he was so impressing me over the weekend, Ryan Priest.
Really well, as of all of RFK.
Also, actually, tell you what, Alex Bowman. Well done to him. He, second race back after Vertigo, he was right up there battling for the lead. And on the restarts, he was
after the race.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he was joking or not, but he did say after the race, if I take one more hit, that might be the last you see of me in a Dario Franchitti style. So he was glad to avoid the big one.
Yeah, he just got through. He's the third car in the chamber there. Yeah. I'm midway through the 1996. Actually, I'm under caution of the 1996 Indy 500 for some reason, so we better wrap it up. Are you all halted, knotted out?
Yes, no, I'm all of that done. Just looking forward to crazily busy weekend this weekend. And it's BSB as well on Monday for us in the UK. Monday Motorsport with BSB at Alton Park, which I'm very much looking forward to. The 30th season of BSB starts this weekend. There's as we've just said about it, it's reminded me, there's a cinematography video on their social media of great clips of the last 30 years. And I watched it last night and it was brilliant. Fantastic.
Tell you what, looking into see if that might be possible to cover it and then see what happens later, because I really want to do some BSBs.
Yes, there's a race on Sunday and then all day
2 on Monday. Yeah.
Let's hope that we get through the Monday program, because we didn't do that last year for untimely things that happened at BSB last year. So let's hope and pray that we get a clean weekend at Alton on the bank holiday. I hope we didn't do that last year.
Okay, so taking a look at our upcoming schedule, Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up. That's going to be 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Texas Motor Speedway. Monday, Grid Rising is at 7 p.m. Eastern, recapping O'Reilly and Trucks at Texas. ARCA East is at Nashville Fairgrounds, and ARCA West is at the... how do you pronounce that one? It's Shasta, isn't it? I've not mispronounced that, have I? F2 is at Miami, plus other motorsport action coming into it. Now, please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you like what you saw tonight, you can send us a super chat to show your appreciation. We've now passed 1,800 subscribers. Please help us reach our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air. And you can follow our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can, or a YouTube channel membership. You can join Colin, Mark, Giselle, Robin, David, Matthew, Crystal, Nico, and our newest member, Gloria, who all invest each month in the Grid Network. And we encourage you to join these great group of people that keep us on the air all year long. And once we hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our team to the track more often and continue growing our media outlet. The link to all of this is in the video description below. And if you want to make a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, invest as much as you want, and consider buying your favorite on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you on the air. For Kobe Lambeth and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.